All right, deep breath. Here we go. It's been a very ambitious project, but it's coming along great. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it's really fun, really fun. All right, so we are in part 2 now. Quick recap of part 1. So Dave, one of my clients, shared how training for his Swiss Alps hut-to-hut trip became a catalyst for getting his strength, his confidence, and sense of freedom back. Now we get to shift from the preparation to the actual adventure. For this segment, Dave is joined by Alex, the person who designed his entire itinerary, to walk through what the trek was really like, what caught him off guard on the trail, the moments where the training really made a difference, and much more. Okay, so are we ready to go, guys and gals? You ready to go?
Yeah.
And before we begin, a quick reminder that me and a small team of technically inclined hikers are working on the HikeStrong app. And a lot of what you hear on this podcast and across all the HikeStrong episodes is shaping how we're building it. It's not ready yet, but if you want updates and you want to be among the first to use it, head on over to HikeStrongApp.com after this conversation with Dave and Alex. Now, Alex, I'm going to set this up and then I'm going to bring you in, okay?
Okay.
You designed the exact Swiss hut-to-hut route that Dave hiked. So this segment is really about connecting his preparation to what he actually experienced on the trail. And I'm looking forward to you guys kind of digging into what surprised him, what challenged him, where the training showed up, when it mattered, and whatever else you want to flesh out. So this is kind of the bridge between all the planning and the real adventure. I'm going to kind of sit back and allow the two of you to have a conversation. Alex, if there's anything you want to say before you guys dive in, feel free to do so. Introduce yourself, whatever.
I want to say, I think you guys are both amazing and wonderful. So I don't think you really need me. I think
we absolutely need you. People want to hear from the people who
No, you don't want to hear from me.
Yeah, we do.
You guys should do this like often and say, I have this peanut butter to my chocolate, Reese's Cups or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like to me, this is a natural marriage, if you would.
Well, if the analogy is chocolate peanut butter,
that's fine with me.
That's amazing. We're good with that.
I remember now that you said that was your weakness.
Oh man, love it. Okay, so Alex, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'm excited to hear about your guys' conversation. So go for it.
So thanks, Marcus, for inviting me on here today. And also thanks, Dave. I was going to say we absolutely need your voice and your stories. And I'm very excited to take you back to August and talk about your experience in Uri in Switzerland. Yeah, I'm the founder of the WanderWeGo Co. Just a little bit about my business. It's named after the word Wanderweg, which I'm sure Dave is, very familiar with now at this point. It's the German word for trail. So that's where the name of my business comes from. It's a hiking consultancy that's based in Zurich, where I've lived for 8 years. And I do travel consultations and custom hiking itineraries for people who want to have a hiking focused trip to Switzerland. I do specialize in hut-to-hut treks and kind of getting people off the beaten track, but really no matter what type of hiker they are, my main goal is just to help them plan a fun and safe trip in the Alps. And I worked with Dave and we planned a trip that took place in August of this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, the floor is yours. So
cool.
Go for it, Alex.
Yeah. So Dave, to start off, what were your biggest concerns about planning this trip before you reached out to me? And I guess, why did you reach out to me in the first place?
So to go back to why I reached out, it was about food. So I had read a book about alpine cooking. And as I might have told you, my first trip into the mountains was not planned. And I was taken with how a simple life, mountain life, was so interesting to me. The book that I got included some of the best food at hut-to-hut hikes, and this particular author had hiked throughout the Alps. And when I Googled hut-to-hut hiking, yours was the first one that came up. And
it's always very exciting to hear, actually.
Yeah. So what really got me was your story and the way that you communicated your hikes and your experience. A lot of it was self-effacing humor. I just found you to be interesting and funny and relatable, if you would, that this is someone I probably could talk to. So it went back to a year ago in November.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first conversation.
Yeah.
It did not seem real. I couldn't find any good information. I probably bought 3 or 4 books on Amazon to say, I'm going to find the real method. And then, of course, I went on the site for the Swiss Hut Society or whatever this
Swiss
was.
Alpine Club. Yeah.
SAS. Yeah. And I couldn't navigate it. It was not user friendly for me.
Yeah.
Your site and the ability for me to at least get upon the foothold into this experience. And I think from someone who not only had never hiked Europe, I'd never hiked. I had lived in the part of New Jersey where I was near the
in flat areas.
Appalachian. No, I was near the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
I was near the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, not flat.
I had been there for over 30 years. I never went.
Yeah.
It was just something I didn't have any appeal for. And of course, I didn't have the confidence to do. So
yeah,
when I started with you, it was almost as if right away I felt, you can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to design something that's going to be just right for you. You asked me, what level of hiking do I do? Well, I was so dumb that I said, I picked something in the middle. And
yeah,
I did
you did. I was going to bring this up. Like, I'm not going to use the word lie, but I feel like
I lied.
You didn't really mention to me in the beginning that this was your first big hike. No. I think you put moderate or something like that. Like, I'm a moderate hiker.
What
and it
I
wasn't
wanted
until later where you let it slip out. This was going to be your first real hike.
Well, right. Well, because I knew I had time, I was going to find someone, and Marcus and Fit for Trips. So I didn't want something that I could do. I needed to push the bar higher.
Yeah.
I needed something to work for. And so I didn't want to let you in that I was so new. I didn't even know what the right answer was, but I knew that if I put something beyond my reach, I would find a way to get there.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's also why I'm so glad, like when we were working together and when you did kind of let it slip, it was your first hike. You also mentioned, you're like, I'm doing this training program. I'm working with someone who has all of the stats, all of the elevation gain. And that also gives me a lot of confidence. And really, it's something that I encourage now all of my clients. I make it very clear how important the need for prep is. So I was obviously happy to see that you had such a dedicated training plan. I know how overwhelming it can be to plan these hikes. I've been here for a while now, and the first few years, I could not navigate the SAC website to find huts at all. I mean, the nice thing about Switzerland is that there is a lot of information, but it's actually hard to find if you don't already know where to look. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck when they want to plan these trails. They're like, I kind of know that it's out there, but I just don't know how to get there. And so I try to be that stepping stone.
The other thing I want to say, just listen to you in the last 2 seconds, is that I only had a week.
Mm-hmm.
So if this didn't go right, the likelihood of me getting another chance in the near future was pretty slim.
Yeah.
So the best thing I liked about working with you is you said, this is going to be your hike.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want to do and
exactly
what you want to see. And the best part of this was you said, I don't want to put you where you're going to be in a tourist environment. I'm going to customize this for locals.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, that made the biggest difference.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a bit, because I did put you in a very local region. It is a region called Uri for anyone who's listening. It's in the middle of Switzerland. It's actually one of the most mountainous cantons in Switzerland, but it's very, very local. You really won't find any tourists there. So I was telling Dave before, I'm like, listen, it's going to be the very traditional Swiss hut experience. There's not going to be any of this kind of touristic extras like private rooms or showers or any of these things that some of the more touristic huts have. It's going to be, the way that the locals hike. So what was that like? I'm sure it was outside of your comfort zone.
So, yeah. So I've told this story a bunch of times and certainly does get some raised eyebrows. I said, okay, Alex, what about showers? And you said, probably not. How many days am I there? And you said, well, there's a lake you can jump in. I said, okay, Alex, how do you change for the lake? She said, well, you put your bathing suit on. You try to be discreet. And I said, what if someone is doing the same thing in front of me? You said, don't stare. Just look beyond it. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, what about at the huts? You said, well, you're going to sleep wherever they tell you to sleep. And you might be an all male or an all female. And I said, okay. Or be mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what if they change in front of me? He said,
I said they're going to. I said they're 100% going to. So that's the way it is.
Oh my gosh. So the barriers to all this
Mm-hmm.
was, what about personal space? What about this? And you said, hey, I don't know what to tell you. It's just what you need to get beyond, and then you'll be okay. So with that in my head, I already had like the 10-mile stare I was going to do if anybody was, and it never happened, by the way.
No.
All that stuff was just great stories I could tell people, and it never worked out. People on this trip and the people I met had the most respect for each other and the dignity. And I want to say there was a level of friendship or a deeper connection. And when I asked you, I said, well, am I going to be accepted? I'm a brand new hiker. And at one point you said that you had just been on a hike in which you met a woman who was going to summit Mont Blanc the next day. And she was 70 or something. And I think you guys are all pros over there. I'm a newbie. And you said, listen, the only thing that matters and the common ground is respect the mountain. And I said, I can do that.
That's easy.
Yeah, I can keep that in the forefront of my head. If that's all I have to do, I'm good.
Yeah. And that's the easiest thing, right? It's just like showing that respect for the mountains and the outdoors. That's why everyone else is there. And that's the common language, I think, in the huts. And once you get that in your head, I think it makes it a little less intimidating. Cause like you said, you can do that. Of course you can do that. That's also why you're there. But it is, I will say, the modesty standards for sure. That does surprise a lot of people, especially I think Americans who are coming and want to stay in these more local huts. I'm like, listen, it's going to be a mixed dormitory. It's going to be mixed bathrooms. Everybody changes. It's not like just the standards are a little bit different, and that's just part of the experience. And obviously do whatever makes you most comfortable, but that's the way that things are done here. So it's nice to know a little bit about the etiquette and the kind of cultural norms.
The other thing that struck me, these are a million memories for the last 12 months, is you had said there wasn't a hike that you ever went on that you didn't cry because starting out, you were sore, and I was sore every day and it went away. And I was telling Marcus earlier that I got stronger with his training and I got stronger on the mountain.
Yeah.
Every day I was sore. Every day I got stronger. I just kept going. So I thought about, okay, I'm not going to cry on the mountain for that. But you said, not only do you cry every hike because you're doing it, but you get to the point where you see something that's beyond you.
Yeah.
You cry because you're in nature. You cry because of how spectacular that is.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get out of your comfort zone, you weren't going to see that. And I think that's the big thing to communicate. That's why you want to go. We're not going to find our life in the repetition and the everyday. We got to find our way out of sedentary, out of self-imposed limitation. And if all you need to do is go fit for trips, follow Alex.
Yeah.
To me, how simple can it be?
Really. And that's, I think, why Dave's right. I do cry on hikes a lot. Now it's more so just because I constantly just get overwhelmed with how beautiful this country is. It doesn't have to be a hike in Switzerland. This is just where I hike the most. And the Alps are just extraordinary and they're stunning and so massive, and photos will never do it justice. Dave, I know you had an amazing experience on the trail with like the sunrises and sunsets, and you take photos and you try to capture it. And sometimes it's like, you just have to be there in that moment. And it makes you emotional because you're so grateful to be experiencing it. I like the hut to hut as well, because I think it does boil down. It's just like any type of multi-day hiking, but with the hut to hut, it boils down to, all you're doing that day is walking. And, frankly, you can only do so much. You can only hike so far every day. And we're so used to being so busy and like going from place to place to place to place. And I think especially a lot of Americans, when they travel, they don't have a lot of time. So they're really looking to kind of get as much in as possible. And when you're doing something like a hut to hut, frankly, there's only so much you could do that day. Like physically, you're kind of hindered by how far you're going to walk and where the hut is. And that's just it. And that's all you have to do and focus on. And so there's a lot of, I think, beauty in that simpleness, which is why I think I love it so much.
I think that's the key. Is if you want to experience more life, simplify.
Yeah.
So between Marcus's training and, how you outlined this, between the two of you, you did everything for me. All I had to do was show up.
And you
now
work.
I just,
Dave, I did not make an easy hike for you. It was work.
Yeah. But there wasn't any time that I didn't think I'm going to turn around. There was no way. I definitely wanted to see what was that on the other side of the next ridge.
Yeah.
What I was going to, is it going to be beauty that I'd never experienced? Was it going to be a herd of cows?
Is it going to be another fault summit, another ridge you have to climb up?
A glacier field of rocks that I was going to, have to.
Like two small kids probably, running circles around you, which is, or maybe,
someone
who's 80 years old, which is how it works in Switzerland. It's either it's a small kid or someone who's much older, just, barreling ahead.
That's what I had. I had on the way down my last hut, a 77-year-old woman was powering up the same trail that I barely could keep. I could never keep up with her.
Yeah.
And so we stopped, we talked, we exchanged story. And she said, I've been doing this hike since I was 4 years old.
Yeah. It's in their blood.
And I said, yeah. Well, I thought about this, Alex. I said, I want to meet people like that. And I'm not going to meet them at home. Mm-hmm. I'm going to meet them out there. And if I can't get out there, I'll be the same person I was. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want more life. I want more experiences. I want, to use whatever time I have left on this earth to grow and to be a better version of me. This is what it did for me.
Yeah. I think it takes getting a little uncomfortable. And like you said, getting out of your comfort zone. So yeah, I think that's great. So I want to know your favorite moment from the trek and then also the most challenging, I don't want to say worst, but
the moment I cursed you out?
Yeah, the moment you were like, what?
Yeah. When I meet Alex, I'm going to clunk her in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to clunk her in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the best moment was definitely the last Wingawenput.
Mm-hmm. And good pronunciation.
I woke up ready to go and went outside and the sun was about to come up and there was about 10 to 14 people already waiting for the sunrise. And as the sun came up, not a word was spoken. We just took it in for the next 30 seconds. And it was spiritual. It was amazing. It was, the hand of God painting these gray mountains that surrounded us, this orange brown view that just was light. I was connected, if you would. Like I was there and I was part of that awakening, if you would. And everyone that shared that moment, I would imagine had a very similar thing because no one wanted to break that silence. We were in that moment. And that was part of what I think was a very special time. And as when I said a minute ago, if you weren't there, a photo was not going to do it. You had to see the faces of these other folks, all different ages. And we were all there for the same reason. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's super special. And the worst. Let's contrast that.
Okay. So on day 2, I was going for Treshhut.
You were going from Treshhut to Edsleyhut Day, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Edsleyhut. So the description of the hike was moderate. And
I put moderate. Maybe I did.
I was doing okay until I reached this field of boulders that was miles wide. And I had to look for a stripe on the ground. Mm-hmm. And if I missed the stripe, I was going to go off and have to repeat myself to get back on what some sadistic person said was the trail, hopping from boulder to boulder. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, this wasn't on the brochure. And I was thinking, Marcus, when I talk to you, I'm going to do step downs more because I had to step off those boulders, side steps. And as I showed Alex, I kept a diary with me every day. And not only did I note what went well, I noted what I would do a little differently and how I would be a little bit better off and that I needed better ankle support and I needed better boots and all these things. And it probably was the best classroom I could have had.
Yeah.
Because it was just me taking the very next step. And my focus was not on anything other than what the next step was, because if I misstep, I would probably turn an ankle. I was going into between these rocks, and no greater sense of accomplishment, obviously, than getting out of that and going, reaching the top, reaching the summit and looking down and saying, okay, oh crap, I got to do the same thing
on the other side
for the next 2 miles.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And reward and find beauty, you find, a herd of cows that are looking at me, and I'm thinking, they must think something's wrong with me.
Sometimes it's nice when your only audience is a herd of cows, at least, right? So,
and the thing
you're cursing or whatever, at least it's just the cow.
Well, here's the thing: there was no one on the trail.
Yeah,
I was there by myself, and just had the thought, okay, that beer with Alex is going to be like a beer over her head for this adventure.
Yeah.
However, when I got near the Exley Hut, 2 teenage hikers stopped me. And of course, they're wearing, New York Next t-shirts. Every kid wants to wear an American sport. And they said, who are you hiking with? And I said, no one. And they said, wow, you must be strong. And I took that for code for stupid.
No.
And my confidence grew every hike, every step. And as I said, no greater reward than sit. And you had told me, you said, get to the hut, get on the porch by 4. You want to meet people. You want to talk to them. The best beer you'll ever drink.
It's true.
It's the 4:00 beer that you just earned from 6 hours of hiking.
I stand by that. Yeah.
Food never tasted better.
I agree. Oh, and that reminds me, I want to ask you about the food, because you brought up the Alpine cookbook. I'm curious how the hut meals compared with what you had in mind.
Every meal was fantastic. Everything was local. The first hut, they used a wood burning stove to cook all their meals.
How cool is that?
How the heck I asked her, what's your oven temperature? He said, obviously you don't know.
Yeah.
We just kind of figured out.
Just the way that they've been doing it.
We had no idea. The second hut, a little bit more, I would say, well thought out, a little bit, a bigger crowd, well thought out, a bigger staff. And I thought the food was uncharacteristically not American in that you had plenty of food, but it wasn't, they thought about food in a different way, in my opinion. It was like the respect that they had for each kernel of rice and the respect that they had for nothing was wasted.
Yeah.
And you could get as much as you want, but they weren't going to put out more food than that table needed. And so
exactly.
the conversation I had with this woman who sat with me, she just, it was like an open book. You know what I mean? So you're sitting, you're breaking bread with these people. We're able to just let it all go.
Yeah, it's really communal. It's really social. Yep. I do think the family style of meals really brings everyone together. You are all coming around a dinner table together. And I actually find the food to be what a luxury to have a hot meal in the mountains, right? I mean, that's actually it's one of the, all the food I think has been great, but it's also, you're so hungry, you're sitting down, you've been hiking all day, and you get this warm, nourishing food. I think they cook, they know that it's designed to refuel you after a long day. And so they have that in mind. But I think you're right. It's also, you take exactly how much you can eat. If you take more, you eat everything on your plate. It's not, I do think you will get, I don't want to say judged, but this is also something I tell people as hut etiquette. Listen, it's not a wasteful thing. Everything has to get flown in by helicopter, or maybe they grow it. So it's important that you kind of keep that in mind when you're eating and enjoying it.
I wrote down in my notes, the hardest thing about this hut was me not being me. Leaving behind my prejudices, my preconceived notions of what I should be, how they should be to me. And I just was in the moment.
Yeah.
And everything was okay. And I just felt this genuine sense of kindness that was palpable.
Yeah.
It really is something that hard to imagine these strangers all come together and just sit and mix and
That's really special.
We're more alike than we are different.
100%. And I think that you have to have these types of experiences again, where there's also like a little bit of friction. And I mean that in a good way where, you know, you're all brought together and maybe some of the conveniences of life you don't have as much, but because of that, you're put in contact with people you might have never talked to before. And again, you see that we're all like humans just living life as best we can. And it's it's really cool to combine that experience with also like hiking in the outdoors.
Well, I think some of our experiences are like one-off and you say, well, that was great. But I think some of these others, like this experience I had in the hike, is fairly life-changing. And you can take this back with you and share this. So the universal language is kindness.
100%.
Right? And how do you start every conversation? With a smile. And can you help me? And people want to help. People want to do for each other. And it's a reminder that, goodness is still out there. And it's probably found by if you look for it. If you think the world is conspiring to do you well, as I remember one of your episodes, you were in a snowbound hut by yourself and wondering whether you should stay overnight. And you said, I'm going to trust the universe that this is the right thing for me. And I think that's part of it. It's a faith. It's letting go of this and seeing where life takes it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about being reckless. It's just saying, I know myself. I trust my instincts. I also, have this general perspective of people, think people are generally good. And so I'm going to make these decisions. And I'm so glad I stayed in that hut by myself, which is another story, I think, for another time. So last question. I mean, I love talking to you about your experience because of all of these, I think, great lessons you came home with. So what advice would you give to someone who maybe wants to do something like this, like maybe have this experience, but they're nervous or intimidated? Someone like you, basically, who was, which is what you were a year ago.
Sure. I would say if anyone was to experience you as open, kind, genuine person, and I think that's what comes through is this is how authentic you are.
Thank you.
The messages that you posted on your site, you're really relatable, and it wasn't a hard reach to say, okay, my trust level just grew and it grew so much and I'm ready for the next step. So the next step is just go. Once you have a basic trust that Alex Bornhoff is not going to take you off the edge of the earth and you're not going to be sold into slavery.
No problem. But up a mountain though, you will be going up a mountain. So that's all that's what I can promise.
Yeah. You'll have an experience that's beyond your expectations. You'll have beauty that's beyond your expectations. You might cry. You might want to share this with everyone when you get home. And with me, I want everyone to have the same experience I had. So I want everyone to work with people like you. I want everyone to know that goodness, trust, faith is out there. And here's the thing. You don't charge enough. To me, I mean, you guys made life-changing things that I take with me every day. And it was an investment. And even though it was a small investment, it was truly an investment that I would have paid 10 times for. And I don't regret any part of what we did. I think you moved the dial so far for me. I'm ready for more.
That's great. That's really, thank you, Dave. Those are just really kind words. And I will say on my end, and I'm sure Marcus, you feel the same way, being a part of people's trips is the most rewarding part of what we do. We both are working in preparing people and sending them on these adventures, and just being a part of that experience, I think, is just the most rewarding thing and makes me obviously so happy to hear from stories like Dave. So yeah,
I agree. It's hard to put into words, Alex, but we know what it's like. Anyway, that was rich, guys. That was so wonderful. Dave, so grateful for you that you gave us your time.
I'm grateful for both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My hope is that when people listen to this is that they do feel confident to reach out to you, Alex, for the opportunity.
I hope so too.
Yeah. And we will get to People Should Know. We got third episode. That's just Alex and I are going to have a conversation. So everybody should definitely look for that. And Dave, you're a good man. And I think I loved how we approached this differently and that you were able to share some wisdom. I don't need to talk to a philosopher grad about these things in life when there's someone like you out there that actually lives the experience and is willing to share, with us. So
if I could share one more thing that I would say about this hike and the preparation is all of our lives, we're going to have challenges, and having this trip and this fantastic experience is money in the bank. It is me thinking back on this and saying, I know I can do more and I'm ready for whatever life throws at me because I can do things, and I can do things that are hard, and I can do things that are beyond my reach. And you guys, put it perfectly to me that it's a stepwise thing, that it's not monumental. You accomplish this and you're ready for more. And that's what I would want to share with anyone is we all can do more. We all have much more potential. And now it's just time to go do it. Don't wait. I'm 63. I'll be 64 in 2 months. Why wait? I'm ready. And our bodies will answer exactly the demand that you put on.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Said well, Dave. All right, man. So grateful. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be in touch for sure. Okay.
That concludes this episode of the HikeStrong podcast. I'm committed to keeping all of the episodes for free. All I ask is that you subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends. My goal is to build a vast community of hikers with the confidence to crush any local or global trail. I hope you will join me in this endeavor. So until next time, train, hike, repeat, and as always, I'm here to support you every step of the way.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. And thanks, Dave. I mean, we absolutely need you here because should we stop and do that again or? No?
Yeah, let me just hang on one second. It's my front gate from I just moved.
That's fine.
They're still calling me to.
I just didn't know if that would be hard to edit out or something.